Hello and welcome to this special radio town hall meeting to mark the 2021 International Anti-Corruption Day, brought to you by a coalition of civil society and media organizations. The partnering organizations include the African Center for Media and Information Literacy, AFRICMIL, the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, Akin Fadeyi Foundation, and the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. I am Adaobi Obiabumo, the Program Manager at PRIMOG. PRIMOG is spelled P-R-I-M-O-R-G. The 2021 International Anti-Corruption Day seeks to highlight the rights and responsibilities of everyone, including the states, government officials, civil servants, law enforcement officers, media representatives, the private sector, civil society, academia, the public, and the youth in tackling corruption. This year's theme is Your Right, Your Role. Say no to corruption. And my guests today are drawn from one of the top government anti-corruption agencies and civil society organizations. For you out there listening to us, please know that you are an important part of this meeting. But do you know that corruption affects all areas of the society, and that preventing corruption will unlock progress towards the sustainable development in our dear country? Be ready to join us through phone and text messages in the course of the deliberation. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message to is 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Please indicate your name and your location when sending your message. This is for messages only. As we join the rest of the world to commemorate International Anti-Corruption Day, we will be taking a look at the state of anti-corruption in Nigeria and the role of the media, civil society organizations, anti-corruption agencies, and the citizen in the fight against corruption. I have passionate guests with diverse experiences in anti-corruption fight right here in the studio. And together, we will discuss the state of anti-corruption in Nigeria while seeking ways to curb the hydra-headed monster. Joining me in the studio are Mohammed Ashiru Baba. He is the Director, Public Enlightenment and Education, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission. I also have Dr. Joseph Obiechie, National President, Foundation for Correction of Moral Decadence, FCMD. I also have Anna White, Communication and Media Officer at Clean Foundation, while Adeolu Adekola, the Senior Program Officer at Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, will join me via the phone. I also have representatives from the partnering organizations. We'll get to introduce them as we continue with the deliberations. But let's quickly get to Mohammed Ashiru Baba, who is the Director of Public Enlightenment and Education. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Adaobi. Thank you, listeners.
How significant is the commemoration of Anti-Corruption Day to ICPC, given its mandate and the growing rate of corrupt acts amongst Nigerians?
The commemoration of the Anti-Corruption Day is very significant. You will recall that ICPC and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation represented Nigeria at the signing of the UNCAC, that is the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, on 3rd of March in 2003 at Merida in Mexico. That time ICPC was 3 years old. So we were, let me say, privileged to be part of the formation of the UNCAC itself. And it's the UNCAC that set aside the 9th of every December as the United Nations Anti-Corruption Day, which was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on the 31st of October, the same year, 2003. So it's very, very important to ICPC because it gives the opportunity for global onslaught against corruption. and we keep emphasizing on regional and global integration and cooperation in the fight against corruption in order to fight money laundering and illicit financial flow effectively. Without such cooperation emphasized by the UNCAC, it will be very difficult to fight corruption at that global level. Thank you very much.
Okay, so last week, ICPC said it discovered duplicated projects worth over 20 billion in the 2021 budget. Could you share with us some other efforts the ICPC has been working on that has paid off in the last 1 year?
Yeah, between January and December 2020, we have recovered 82.5 billion naira.
82.5 billion.
82.5 billion naira worth of assets that we recovered. And we also restrained 147 billion naira personnel overhead costs from MDAs, as well as capital costs that would have been pocketed, by MDAs. We recovered that one as well. We have tracked in our constituency/executive projects tracking initiative. We have tracked 564 projects strewn across Nigeria, executed by the legislators, or supposed to be executed, or initiated by the legislators, but of course supposed to be executed by the executive, but they were either not handled well, shortly done, or not even implemented at all. Okay. And additional 269, this one exclusively executive projects. So we've been really
busy in the last 1 year.
Making a lot of progress, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much to ICPC. Let's shift our attention to Anna White, who is the Communications and Media Officer at Clean Foundation. Clean Foundation seeks to promote public safety, security, and justice. From your perspective, how is corruption affecting the actualization of your mission, and what are you doing to surmount it?
Okay, thank you very much, Adobe. I would say we don't have a lot of effects as per corruption. I know that corruption affects all of us all, but we as an organization, we look at improving these sectors, and then the work that they do. And so far, I would just start by saying that the government has its frameworks and structures that try to mitigate corruption in the country, in as much as we have gaps that are left, like the director here rightly stated from ICPC, and then we have EFCC, we have Code of Conduct Bureau, and the rest of others who are trying to mitigate corruption issues in the country. For us, we try to see that our role helps to improve what these government agencies are doing to ensure that their work is easier, and then we get results from all the work that is being done.
In trying to improve the process, did you encounter corruption at any point?
Well, at every level of work, cut across different stratas, you are always going to experience some sort of bottlenecks, along the line. But you have to create tactics or strategies with which you can, work or carry out your interventions, as you try to improve this work that you're doing. Currently, I can say that for the third tranche of the Abacha loot, which is about $311 million, which the government has recovered and is currently using for infrastructural development in the country, they also were able to bring in a CSO phase, which Clean Foundation is currently monitoring to ensure that all that the government has said that they're going to do with some of these recovered funds, they're actually doing or carrying out that mandate as they should. So to some extent, of course, there's a level of success to the work that we're doing.
Okay, let's quickly shift our attention to Lagos. Let's quickly get to Adeolu Adekola, who is a senior programs officer at Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism. Adeolu, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Adobe.
Okay, I would say a big congratulations to the WSCIJ on the successive awards to deserving investigative journalists over the years. by your center. Today is the day for this year's award. Could you briefly share with us your giant strides as well as the challenges?
Thank you again, Adobe, for having me. And I'm not sure I should say Happy International Anti-Corruption Day, but we are commemorating that day today. In all modesty, holding the 16th edition of the award today, which is currently ongoing. Actually, we've started, we've commenced, makes us proud of continuing the tradition of rewarding, promoting, and encouraging best practices from journalists who focus on three major things, and that's the focus of the award: regulatory failures, corruption in the public and private desk, and human rights abuses, and across different sectors as well. So with the 14 finalists that have emerged this year, the award has so far produced 109 finalists across 37 media organizations. Out of those, about 52 have become showing laureates. Showing laureates are people that actually won the first prize. So we have the first prize, a runner-up, and commended over the years. And then we've also had 11 investigative journalists this year. Our giant stride is basically tied to the ability to challenge journalists and the media in not relenting in playing its role by speaking the truth to power consistently, by using the tools of investigative and accountability journalism. That comes with a lot of backlash and challenges, like attempts to guard the media, and those are challenges. Attempts to guard the media, selling space to repressive launch, intrusion privacy of journalists, attack, arrest, detention, and sometimes killing of journalists on duty. The issues of misinformation and disinformation, and of course, the mob culture of audiences against the media and journalists are part of the challenges we see.
So what do you think is responsible for government's reluctance in tackling actions on indicting persons? Because I know there are times when reports or investigative reports by these investigative journalists are out. It does appear that the government is not interested in taking action against those who have been indicted. So why do you think the government is reluctant?
Well, I think there's actually, as a country, as a people, and one of the things we have to sit down to say or discuss, or, we have to realign our value system, basically. I'm not sure there is any year during this award. So we held it for 15 years, and this is the 16th going on now. There is no year that one of the finalists doesn't cover the topic of corruption. In fact, the VFX is currently working on publishing an investigative journalism landscape report, because we are basically trying to document our experience on the award. Since 2005 and 2020, we've had a total of 135 stories across different issues, across different genres. However, we've tried to categorize these issues in different things: child abuse, grand corruption in Nigeria, brutality by men in uniform, extrajudicial killing. And those sub-things are actually 16 in number. I just gave you about 5 of them. Okay. Grand corruption in Nigeria actually has the highest amount of reports, accounting for 21%. That's 29.
So why do you think government is reluctant in indicting some of these individuals that have been...
So that's where I'm going. So the fact is the media is reporting it. And that's the fact, and that's the truth. The media is reporting it. However, 3 things I don't think that needs to be done. Number one is the political will. I don't think, the director in-house has said the amount of funds that have been recouped by the
successes, yes.
Yes. But the political will, there's also systemic corruption in the system, and so we have to be putting together structures. It shouldn't be about the body language of an individual. Yes, we need strong men in power, and then we also need strong institutions. And then the last thing is we should not, as a society, be rewarding bad behavior, either as election or as an appointment. So the culture of defending corrupt persons must stop.
Okay, thank you so much. Adeolu Adekola would get back to you, but back in the studio, I still have one of my guests, Dr. Joseph Obieche, who is the National President and Foundation for Correction of Moral Decadence. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Adobe.
You have heard all what my panelists have said. So do you think the decay of our moral values has contributed majorly to the rate of corruption in Nigeria, and who should be blamed for the fast dissipating moral values in our society?
Of course, it has really, really become something that we all should talk about. It's very, very key. The moral decadence in our society has eaten so deep in all facets of our lives. So I solely believe that it's so fundamental, so foundational that we should talk about it. Not only talk about it, act immediately. The moral decadence, they interwove with corruption. All right? I believe they go pari passu. Who are we going to blame for this
Exactly.
endemic or alarming corruption prevalent in the society? Who are we going to blame? I tell you the truth, and it's my own personal submission, not the radio. From our dear President Buhari down to the least minor, I'm talking of all and sundry. We have all failed in that aspect woefully.
All of us.
When I say all of us, preponderance, majority carries the vote. There are some few individuals that you can trust, you're sincere, and I think I'm one of them. If you permit
Because
me.
I know that despite the systemic corruption, despite the endemic corruption, there are still individuals who
Yes,
are
yes, I
really
certainly-
making Nigeria proud. Because during the third summit by the ICPC,
Yes,
3 Nigerians stood out and they were celebrated.
exactly.
Okay, please go
Exactly.
ahead.
There's no doubt about it. As a matter of fact, generally, this country is highly so blessed that we don't suffer, we barely don't suffer most of this natural disaster. The most endemic thing we are suffering right now is corruption. And when we talk of corruption, we are not talking of just only financial corruption. Corruption in all facets of our life. That is what we are talking about. And this has to be addressed. It's so paramount that we should address it. Without that, our country will never progress. And when the last caller said that we need somebody, a leader that is strong,
Political will.
a political will, I say we need a leader that is very sincere, a leader that will be fair to all, a leader that is down to earth, a leader that we can reach out to and talk to, communicate and feel him so that he can know our pains. That's it.
It's good that ICPC is here. When you talk of government,
Yeah.
you look at some of these government
Yeah.
agencies.
I was in ICPC, one time, I was invited to train some of your staff, and I was there to talk to them, We had a good time.
That's beautiful.
So,
That's
but look, the truth is that when a man stops speaking the truth,
Yeah.
the man starts dying.
Exactly.
You agree with me?
Yes.
So we have to tell ourselves the home truth if we truly love this country.
Okay, we
Yes.
must tell ourselves the truth. Mohammed Ashir Baba, you heard what Adeolu said, and my other guest in the studio talking about corruption, systemic corruption. Adeolu mentioned political will, systemic corruption. ICPC. Now, what is ICPC doing to tackle corruption in government agencies? And what are your challenges in going after agencies of the government aiding and abating corruption? Do you have the political will at ICPC?
Thank you very much, Adaobi. Section 3 of the ICPC Act has asserted the independence of the ICPC. We don't need any body's permission to prosecute any corruption offender. We are independent as far as operation is concerned, even though financially, of course, we get our funding from government. We have done quite a lot, to reduce corruption in the public sector. We've established anti-corruption monitoring units in MDAs. They monitor the goings on. We also
That's Act 2.
the Act 2, yes.
How efficient is Act 2?
Very efficient. We conduct a compliance scorecard on the actors. We empower them to conduct through them to conduct a scorecard, compliance scorecard on the MDAs to find out, to what extent do they really carry out enhance or kind of observe the ethics of the profession, and then the ethical conduct, integrity and what have you.
I know there are over 800 MDAs now.
Yeah.
Do we have Act 2 decks in all these MDAs?
Yeah, almost 600 on ground now. Almost 600 on ground. Some new agencies sprang up late last year, so it's an ongoing formation of actors. But the actors are really cooperating and they are really working hard. They give us a report, and they also ensure that things are done properly. As a matter of fact, the presence of actors in the MDAs has been sending jitters even in the mind of the public officials. They are now conscious of what they are doing. So many people refrain from corruption to a large extent because they know that the actors are watching them. We've also done corruption risk assessment of MDAs. You may be aware that we have world-acclaimed corruption risk assessors in ICPC. As a matter of fact, we trained heads of anti-corruption agencies on corruption risk assessment here in Nigeria, heads of anti-corruption agencies in Africa. We trained them here in Nigeria by no other person than officers of ICPC.
Okay.
We also conduct system study. I would have loved to talk on the values, actually.
We'll get back to the values.
The
but
values
let's
is very important also.
just hold your thoughts.
All
We'll
right.
get back to the values. Let's
Okay.
quickly speak to Adeolu Adekola before he goes, because I understand that they have activity award going on, so we really must let him go. Adeolu, welcome back again.
Thank you very much, Adobe.
So going forward, what would be your charge to the federal government and other government agencies in the fight against corruption?
Thank you, Adobe, for having me. Well, it's more of what I have said earlier. We have to, as a people, deliberately build a culture of speaking the truth to power at all times. And we cannot, as a people, and I'm now saying as a people because it's easy for us to point fingers at the leaders or at the government for being corrupt. In every sphere, whether you have it in basic education and electricity. So as a people, we have to consciously act against corruption. And then for the government, and that's why I just spoke about the political will. It's easy, the government it's easy to point fingers at the government because they are high up there. And everybody claims not to be corrupt. However, once we have that culture of not being, acting in a wrong manner, not taking funds that are not meant for you, I think that some consciousness as a people has to be there. And then the government has to just put systems and structures in place, processes in place. We had the due process, etc. from the time past. But those processes have to become institutions so that corruption would be minimized to the barest minimum.
Okay, thank you so much, Adeolu, and congratulations once again to the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism.
Thank you very much.
Okay, before we get to ICPC, talking about the values, let me quickly get to Anna White. You heard what Adeolu said, that as a people, we must also ensure that we resist corruption. Do you agree? We like, there's a detective and preventive measures. We like the detective measures. What about the preventive measures?
First of all, I would say that we need to begin to set standards. And that standard, I believe, should trickle from up down. If you look at Nigerians, basically, they're very, I don't want to use the word law-abiding for now, but Nigerians have a way of following some sort of rule and regulations, maybe from people from high authority, maybe religious leaders, and if you look at the Islamic or the Muslims, or look at the Christians, having to listen to their pastors, do whatever the pastor has said, or the imam. I think that if we, from high down, from that hierarchy, if people begin to take responsibility of what should be done or what is obtainable in the society, and I think that the ordinary man who's on the street is going to follow it. First, I think that government needs to do more by first of all holding themselves accountable. We can't keep saying that those down there should do this, whereas you are doing something else. For instance, if you want just as a very minor example, and you get to the traffic light, who are those who beat the traffic light? So when you begin to make comparisons of certain things, so Nigerians begin to feel like, oh, this is a lawless state, and then we can begin to act as such. The same way with corruption. Okay, if this governor is not being prosecuted, we know that he did this. If this individual is not being prosecuted, okay, who am I? I can do as I want. as I please.
But in doing as you want or as you please, we should also look at the consequences of corruption.
You should understand that corruption in Nigeria has become a culture. It has gone beyond what we are thinking. It has become innate.
So it's a social norm.
It's become a social norm. And when you look at the events in the society, you can't displace it. I don't want to go too deep because we are not going to finish this conversation.
Exactly.
And an average Nigerian, sorry to say, is corrupt.
Can I?
Wow, am I corrupt?
Who knows? Not to dispute your person as an individual, but in this room, out of 3 Nigerians, I can say 2 is corrupt.
Maybe ICPC will tell us if that is true or not.
You are asking whether you are corrupt or not. As a journalist, I would say you are corrupt.
Fine.
You see, corruption is not about money.
Money,
Corruption is not.
Corruption is not about money, definitely.
Even when you sensationalize your stories, you are being corrupt. You are not fair. You are not balanced. You are not objective in your stories. I'm not talking about this particular production. I'm not talking about Adaobi. I'm talking about journalists. You have to be fair. You have to be free. You have to be objective. You don't look at the honor of the media organization. You don't look at your personal desires, what you hope to get, the brown envelope syndrome, and what have you. All these journalists take into consideration in the kind of thing they air.
I'm
is
happy
plain
that we
corruption.
have journalists as our partner
That is
organization.
plain corruption, actually. The issue of values, I dabbled into the media because you brought up the issue, but the issue of values is very important. The gentleman from the Wale Soyinka investigative journalism outfit is now what my friend here, Doctor, what they said was very, very germane. And even what my sister said about corruption, what they said about values was quite okay. Yeah, it's true. The decadence, the value decadence, the moral decadence in society contributes a lot to the growth, and the increase, the rate of corruption, the state of corruption we are experiencing. And what she said about corruption becoming the norm is the bitter truth. That is what we are trying to disabuse the minds of Nigerians generally. And that is why we introduced the National Values Curriculum as ICPC in order to change the psyche, the mindset of the youth at their formative age. We've infused 12 core values in the curriculum for teaching from primary school to the university, and we've introduced the National Ethics and Integrity Policy. Exactly. All with the aim of resuscitating and rejuvenating the values. If you look at 1960 to 1985 of Nigeria, those years, was not as it is today.
But
that
there was
time you could
corruption
afford,
then, at least.
yeah,
It's not as
very
if they were
minimal. Of
saints.
course, no. What you should understand is that there is no nation that is corruption free.
Yeah.
No nation is corruption free. Nowhere,
extent
even
to
in China, where you have one man, one bullet, that is still corruption. The difference between one nation and the other is the magnitude of corruption and the readiness of that country to fight corruption, and the people condoning corruption. Condoning corruption by the people generally is even worse than corruption itself.
Okay, those condoning corruption in Nigeria, when a person close to me is corrupt, we tend to shy away from it. You don't want to report your brother, you don't want to report your sister, that person from your religious affiliation, you wouldn't want to speak against him. So there are many factors, but before we get to solution, I want to quickly open the phone lines so that the person listening to the sound of our voices would contribute. What and how would you react to the conversation? Do you think it is possible to clean Nigeria and the public sector of corruption? What is the best approach in tackling corruption in Nigeria? And as a citizen or a parent, what are you doing to impact integrity into your world? Hello?
My name is Chidi.
Okay, Chidi, let's hear you.
Yes. See, the matter of Nigerian corruption, our laws are there, but there are there's no enforcement. And then the man from ICT is talking about the curriculum. That's a positive step. But I think National Investigation Agency has more to do in the area of incorporating anti-corruption, the psyche of Nigeria. Then number three, see why people don't pay taxes voluntarily in Nigeria.
You have 30 seconds, please.
Okay. Because people in the agencies that collect taxes live their lives larger than life. So the average Nigerian believes that when he pays taxes, the people there eat. And then again,
Sorry, I would have to cut you there to give opportunity to some other persons to make their contribution. An average Nigerian believes that when you pay your tax, the government does not do the needful with your tax. We don't see projects commensurable to tax that we pay. Another question is, do we pay tax? Hello?
my name is Apostle from Marco here.
Go ahead, Apostle.
Yes. The way we can do it, the every of us, we know it. If we have a law, we have to implement the law. Even if the son of the president committed a crime, let him face the music. Even the son of the governor. But today, we can see that we don't have law. We don't have law, only that we have law for mouth. Only the poor people are the ones that can commit a crime and go and be punished. But the big weight in the country, when they committed a crime, nothing will happen to them. Thank you and God bless you. My name is Apostle from Marco.
Thank you so much, Apostle. Now I want to bring in our partner organizations. Godwin Onyacholem is seated here from the African Center for Media and Information Literacy, AfricBio. Please, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, I do.
You heard what our guests have said. How would you react to all that we have said today? And what are the successes or the challenges AfricMil has faced in the fight against corruption?
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. We all know what corruption has done to our lives. I mean, corruption has permeated every facet of national life in Nigeria, be it in the public or the private sector. I think that in the last 61 years, according to the Agas report, about $582 billion has been lost to corruption. This speaks to the urgency of the situation. We really have to do something about corruption. If we don't do anything in the next 10 years, again, according to PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, in the report they did in 2015, if we do not do anything about corruption now, in the next 10 years, 30% of our GDP will be lost to corruption.
30% of our GDP.
That's huge. And Ilias Gashimbaki last year is the chairman of Society for Financial Accounting and Fraud Prevention. The report says that 2.5 trillion naira is lost to corruption every year. So, I mean, it's so massive, and then you just wonder, what can we really do? The only thing we can do is to keep on fighting to ensure that this monster, this hydra-headed monster, it manifests in various ways. Like he mentioned, it's not just about collecting money. Simply on the government side, not obeying orders of competent courts, it's also corruption. Yes. So it manifests in various ways. And corruption exists in all societies, as the ICPC director also mentioned. It's everywhere in the developed world, and the difference between there and here is that there are sanctions.
Okay, let me take this call. There are sanctions. Hello?
My name is I'm calling all the way from Kararoka government. That's our state.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I want to say that corruption is part of every society. But I think back here in Nigeria, our laws are not strong enough to discourage people who want to perpetrate corruption. For example, a man who actually steals billions of naira and is just giving a fine on 20,000 or 30,000. This is corruption itself. You know,
And also, when we have people in government who know the law very well, they choose to turn back their eyes. This is also the worst form of corruption. So one thing I want to say here is that we must have laws that will be strong enough to discourage people from perpetrating corruption. Because currently you see that there are some other countries.
You have 30 seconds, please.
Yes, we want to drop, they will give you documents that says if you carry drugs, for example, that you will be excluded. So anyone that does that and is excluded is left for you. So I think our laws must be made strong. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We need to strengthen our laws. And from what the earlier caller said, impunity. Corruption is one. Impunity is another. When you talk of good governance, we tend to talk about some of the tenets of good governance: participation, accountability, and transparency. Some government agencies and individuals are transparent, but the challenge is accountability. How accountable are we as a people? Let me take another call. Hello. Let's hear you, Godwin.
Yes. You explain my visit to your guest in the studio. Yes, I was speaking with Akoko about how many days ago. He just tried to tell me that Nigeria is just like an expiring something, which if you buy, that thing has already expired. Yes, ma'am. I was meant to understand, I was speaking with one of the CEO of Aerofy song. Somebody will carry 30 million inside his boot, go to the club and squander it while other people are there looking for what to eat. So corruption has been from our leaders, and they should try to do something because those people that govern are watching them. So please, you should try and let your guests to tell people, because it's time to tell us that those from the primary to secondary, from secondary to university, they should try and correct some of this impression so that people will begin to live in peace. Because
Okay, thank you so much, but I want to correct that impression where you said Nigeria is an expiring nation. No, we are not. We are not. Please go back and talk to that your friend or your uncle who said that. This is the only country we have. When we point our fingers at government agencies, we also have a responsibility, because those people at the helm of affairs, they have relatives, they have friends, they have colleagues, and they are individuals, citizens like you and I. So we all have a role to play in the fight against corruption. Joining me in the studio is one of our partner organizations from the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, Olugbenga Adaniki. You're welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Could you share your experience talking about the International Center for Investigative Reporting? How far have you gone in the fight against corruption?
Okay.
If you listened, you heard what my guest said, investigative journalists and journalists in general. Some of your reports, do you balance your reports?
Definitely. For over a decade, we at the ICIR, we've focused on investigative journalism, exposing corruption, criminal acts, and every more like ills in the society. And most of the time, we try as much as possible to work with incontestable evidence, and oftentimes after our discoveries, we also reach out to civil society organizations, to get their perspective to the story. We reach out to anti-corruption agencies such as the EFCC and the ICPC. Of course, ICPC has been very helpful.
I can see Mohammed Ashim smiling.
Yeah, really, because some of the investigations we've conducted, particularly a constituency project, the ICPC, we say they were magnanimous enough to take over from where we stopped, to go after the contractors, who did shoddy jobs and all that. And I think at some point they tried to compile a list of some of these contractors, yes, and then push to the National Assembly if the lawmakers could come up with a special law to prosecute them. So yes, it's been an amazing journey, but we actually pray for serious conviction because it is when people see that those who stole government money, who stole public funds, when Nigerians see that they are sent to jail, it will really speak volume. It will really speak volume. You don't really need to panic, beat anything. They can see themselves, they can watch, so.
Okay, thank you so much, ICIR. I want to encourage you to do more. Okay, but what has been established here is that corruption is prevalent in our society. Let me take this call. Hello.
My name is Okon. I'm calling from Nigeria.
Could you turn down the volume on your radio set?
Yes, man, I do that.
Okay, go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Okay, corruption can never stop in Nigeria. Why did I say so? Because everybody corrupt in Nigeria, right from the house to the office to the ministry to the government, everybody corrupt in Nigeria.
We are not all corrupt. There are Nigerians who are standing on integrity.
Let me just get my point. Now, at the moment, people have been talking, the journalists, the government have been saying that they are fighting corruption. And they did not fight corruption. The truth is that nobody fights corruption in Nigeria. If somebody steals 1 cup of Gary, now, they will sentence that person to hanging or sentence that person to death. But if somebody steals billion, 50 billion, 100 billion, they will put that person in the red carpet from the airport to anywhere in the country. You understand me? Assume that Nigeria gets a law. Let a madman come out and say it's going to control Nigeria. All these things will be a bad story. But it's just because there is no law. If somebody steals 1 million naira and that person goes, get imprisonment. All these things.
Okay, thank you so much for your contribution. This will be the last call for the day. Hello. Your name and where you're calling from. You have 1 minute, please.
My name is Isaac. I'm calling presently from Lighthouse. I want to thank the management of Primus for always enlightening Nigerians. The issue of corruption, the value systems we know it's so bad in our society, but I still take it back to the family. The family, the religious organization can help to change the narrative. And citizens also should try to enable to always expose corrupt acts, be it in your society, be it in anywhere you state it, ensure you have credible evidence, and our society will be better for it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Taiwo Aderebigbe. As we begin to wrap up, because our time is far spent, I would start with Mohammed Ashir Baba, who is the Director of Public Enlightenment and Education at ICPC. What are your assurances to millions of Nigerians listening to you and hoping ICPC can reduce corruption to the barest minimum in Nigeria? You've heard the callers who said we are all corrupt, the government agencies are not doing anything. So what are you going to say to assure them, to give us hope?
Before the coming of ICPC, there was never a time when a serving Inspector General of Police was arrested and bundled into a waiting Black Maria like a goat. There was never a time when a serving judge was arrested, investigated, and even dismissed from service. There was never a time when a former governor was arrested and investigated and is prosecuted and even convicted. All these are now history. We have so many former governors languishing in prison. I've just told you the amount of money we've recovered. That's just between January and September. And we've been recovering this money year in, year out. And the fight against corruption as far as ICPC is concerned is comprehensive. Top, bottom up. I talked about the curriculum, I talked about the gloves, and then up there I talked about the actus, and we have a lot of forums also targeted at people high up there. So what I want Nigerians to know is that the fight against corruption is not an event. So they don't expect that the event will just begin and finish within specific time. It's supposed to be an ongoing process. It's not an event, it's not a 90-minute football match that will begin and end. So it's a process. And the same with all nations of the world. All we need is Nigerians should be patient and then contribute their quota. People don't contribute to the fight against corruption at their own, at least by able reporting, and yet they will be at the forefront condemning the anti-corruption agencies or government efforts.
Okay, citizens should report.
Yes.
That is whistleblowing.
Can I give the number?
Okay, please go ahead.
Please, I want Nigerians to use this number. It's a toll-free line, and you can speak to ICPC 24/7, no charges. 0800 22 55 4274. I will repeat.
Take that again.
0800 22 55 4272. This line is a special 12-digit line, not like your MTN line.
Normal.
It's a 12-digit line. It's linked to other 5 lines. So
Okay,
there's no
thank
problem.
you, thank you so much. I have one of our partner organizations again, Akin Fadeyi Foundation. Ose Enaholo, pardon me, please come closer. Could you share with us in 1 minute what Akin Fadeyi has been doing and the challenges in the fight against corruption? Go ahead, please.
The Akin Fadeyi Foundation is an anti-corruption organization, an NGO. We make behavioral change kits, so you can check our social media platforms for behavioral messages on how to change corruption. In 2019, we launched a reporting app. Like the representative of the ICPC said, one thing we can do to fight corruption is reporting. So we have a Flag It app where citizens can report corruption. We have recorded a couple of success stories from our app, and then we encourage citizens to download the app and report too.
Thank you so much. Flag It app. Let me quickly get to Anna White. There is so much talk about corruption and fight. Do you think citizens are doing enough individually in the fight against corruption? And why are many citizens disconnected from anti-corruption campaigns? And how can it be changed? In 1 minute, please.
All right. Part A of the question, I'll just say that individuals are not necessarily doing enough. Just that one line. And to say why they're disconnected is we're beginning to have trust issues associated to the government and the people, and also the agencies that have been set up, to fight corruption in the country. And average Nigeria thinks that, okay, so what is EFCC going to do, or ICPC? Are they true? And an average Nigerian, as we speak, believes that EFCC in itself is corrupt. So when EFCC wakes up to champion any cause, they are not willing to participate because they believe already that the laws are meant for the average or poor Nigerians, and those at the high level who are meant to be used as scapegoat, let me use that word, so that this system can trickle down, like I earlier said, and the standard, of persecuting, after investigation, actually persecuting those who have been found guilty is not being done. So people are looking at the government like they are not doing.
So the government should do more.
The government should do more.
Okay, thank you. Let me quickly get to Dr. Joseph Obieche, National President, Foundation for Correction of Moral Decadence. What is the best approach in tackling corruption in Nigeria? And what will be your advice to that person listening to you in the fight against corruption, their responsibility of molding the next generation? In 1 minute, please.
With candid apology, I must say this. Are we serious-minded people in the society? We must tell ourselves the home truth, I repeat. All right? There is someone we gave the key of this nation to manage. All these things we are saying will be mere talk, like mere bubble in the air. If the man at the helm of affair does not decide that, hey, I must sit up, I must be serious, because this is so endemic. This is like cancer. It's tantamount to cancer. It's eating deep. Is this the kind of society, I'm asking you, the ICPT man, that you love your beloved children to grow up, or do we keep sending our children to overseas to grow? Let us be serious. Let me finish, please. So the solution is this quickly. If you have a minute. The solution is for you in the government, for our dear President Buhari and other governors, for us to collaborate, synergize, and talk to our people. Reorientation of the mindset of an average Nigeria is very paramount, is very key, so fundamental. This is what we are missing. The moment we do this, we begin to see solutions.
Thank you so much. Our time is up. Onyachole, in 30 seconds, your last word.
No, it's okay.
Your last word.
Okay, I mean, for me, it's about, I'll talk about the political will. I don't think there is much of it now. There are inconsistently in the last 6 years, we've ranked very, very poorly in the anti-corruption index. So I urge the president to demonstrate more of the leadership, the courage, and the impact, to help expose corruption, and then lead
Okay.
the nation the way it should.
Thank
be
you
led.
so much. While we
Yeah.
are urging the president, we are also urging you as citizens to provide the information needed for the anti-corruption agencies to do their job. We have come to the end of this special radio town hall meeting to mark the 2021 International Anti-Corruption Day. We sincerely appreciate our guests, Mohammed Ashiru Baba, Director of Public Enlightenment and Education at the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Thank you so much. Dr. Joseph Obieche, National President Foundation for Correction of Moral Decadence, and Anna White, Communications and Media Officer at Clean Foundation. Sincere appreciation also goes to Adeolu Adekola, the Senior Program Officer at Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism. Also the partnering organization, Ose Enaholo of Akinfadeyi Foundation, Olubenga Adaniki of the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, and Godwin Onyacholim, African Center for Media and Information Literacy, AfricMil. If you have a message for us or you want to react to what you heard on this program, please reach us on 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Please visit the news page of our website, primorgnews.org. That is primorgnews.org for all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, www.primorg.org, to get all the information about Primorg. This town hall meeting is a collaborative effort of Primorg, the African Center for Media and Information Literacy, AfricMil, the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, and the Akinfadeyi Foundation to raise awareness against the menace of corruption in Nigeria. Many thanks to all the staff of the partner organizations for this event who played different roles to ensure its success. The executive producer of this town hall meeting is Okiria Agbonsuremi. Don't fail to report corruption when you see it or encounter it in any form. And remember that birth registration and birth certificate are both free if your child is under the age of 18. Before we leave, I would like us to take this pledge. And for you out there, I would also want you to take this pledge. Today is International Anti-Corruption Day, and the team says, your right, your role, say no to corruption. I encourage all of us to say that together. My right, personalize it please. My right, my role. I will say no to corruption. Thank you so much, and that's how we are wrapping it up. I am Adaobi Obiabumo. Stay safe.